There is a subway station in Busan that leads directly to the stadium where Jimin is about to perform. Jonghab Undongjang Station, Busan Metro Line 3, the stop that tens of thousands of fans will pass through on June 12 and 13 to reach the Busan Asiad Main Stadium, where Jimin and BTS will perform for the first time in his hometown since 2022. And right now, both walls of that station, 200 meters of them on both sides, are covered in Jimin. Not posters, not paper prints, 10 wide LED light boards, plus a full wall-wrapping advertisement running the entire length of the station corridor, the kind of installation that requires advance permission from a city transportation authority, a budget that very few fan campaigns can sustain, and a community organized enough to execute it across multiple coordination points simultaneously. The fan base behind it is called All for Jimin. And the reason this specific station, this specific installation, and this specific moment carries a weight that goes far beyond a typical fan campaign has everything to do with something that happened in this exact location 7 years ago. Something that was, at the time, described as unprecedented, something that is now referred to in the fandom simply as the legendary event. This channel is for the fans who understand that the most significant moments in fandom history are not always the ones that happen on stage. Sometimes they happen in subway stations, in the corridors that lead towards someone's hometown stadium, in the space between where you are and where you are going. If you have never heard the full story of what happened at Jonghab Station in 2019, the second half of this video is going to give you the context that makes the 2026 campaign feel like something much larger than an advertisement. June 2026, 5 days before the Busan concerts. Star News Korea confirmed on June 7th that All for Jimin, Jimin's primary Korean fanbase organization, is running a full-month wall-wrapping campaign at Jonghab Station for the entirety of June. The campaign launched at the beginning of the month and will run through the concert dates of June 12 and 13. The installation covers both sides of the station walls, 200 meters of Jimin, stretching from the entry point of the station corridor all the way through to the exit that leads toward the stadium. 10 wide LED boards are integrated into the wall display, meaning the campaign is not static. It moves, it changes, it reacts to the light conditions of the station in ways that a paper display never could. For the fans arriving in Busan from across Korea and from countries around the world, the ones who have been saving and planning and counting down for weeks or months, Jonghab Station is their first experience of the concert, before they reach the stadium, before they hear the music, before they see the stage. They walk through 200 meters of Jimin. And the reason All for Jimin chose this station, the reason this specific location was worth the cost and the logistics and the coordination that a month-long LED installation requires, is a decision that reaches back to 2019. Here is the story that Star News Korea specifically flagged in their coverage, the story that transforms a 2026 advertisement into something with a different kind of weight. In 2019, BTS celebrated their 6th debut anniversary. June 13th of that year marked 6 years since 7 people walked onto a stage for the first time and changed what the music industry had thought was possible for Korean artists. At the same time, Jimin was holding his first fan meeting in Busan, his hometown, the city where he grew up, the city that he had left to become a trainee and then a global star. The first time he was returning to Busan in an official capacity, not as a tourist, not privately, but as Park Jimin of BTS, standing in front of fans in the city that formed him before any of that existed. All for Jimin obtained commercial advertising permission from the Busan Transportation Corporation for Jonghabundongjang Station, the station closest to the fan meeting. They mounted a full wall-wrapping advertisement in the same corridor that now hosts the 2026 installation. It was, according to Star News Korea, the first time a fan campaign had ever received this kind of institutional advertisement permission for a K-pop artist at a Busan Transportation Corporation station. At the time, it drew intense media attention. It was covered as an event in itself, not just as support for Jimin, but as evidence of what organized fan communities could accomplish when they moved with enough intention and enough coordination towards a shared goal. That 2019 campaign is now referred to in the fandom as the legendary event, and the 2026 installation is happening in the same station, by the same fan base, 7 years later, in the weeks before Jimin performs in his hometown for the first time since the military service that separated him from the stage for 3 years. The emotional architecture of this symmetry is worth understanding fully, because the fans who created the 2026 campaign understood it and built the campaign deliberately around it. In 2019, Jimin was returning to Busan for the first time in an official capacity. He was 6 years into a career that had already exceeded anything he or his group could have predicted at debut. The fan meeting was a relatively intimate event. The wall wrapping was a gesture, a way of saying, your city sees you, your fans in your city see you, and we wanted the first thing you noticed when you arrived at the station to be evidence of that. In 2026, Jimin is returning to Busan after 3 years of silence, after mandatory military service, after the most celebrated comeback year in K-pop history, 3 AMA wins, a Dior Global Ambassador partnership, 2.4 billion streams on Who, the most searched K-pop artist name on Google for weeks straight, brand reputation rankings that no one in the history of the survey had ever sustained for as long as he had. After all of that, he is coming back to the same city, to the same stadium where he last stood before all of it happened. The wall wrapping at the same station is not just a parallel, it is a direct line drawn between two moments in the same story, a story about a person who left his city to become something extraordinary, kept becoming it, and now is coming back. And the fans who planned it, who secured the permissions, organized the funding, coordinated the installation, timed it to run through the entire month of June, understood that they were not just making an advertisement, they were marking a moment in a story that they have been part of for 13 years. The coverage of the 2026 campaign generated a very specific kind of conversation across platforms that goes beyond the standard fan campaign response. ARMY, who had been following Jimin's career since the 2019 fan meeting, recognized the symmetry immediately and responded to it with the kind of emotional depth that 7 years of investment produces. The posts from longtime fans were not celebratory in the usual way, not the "we won" energy that follows chart victories or award show moments. They were quieter, more reflective, the kind of response that happens when something completes a circle you have been watching form for a long time. The posts from newer fans, people who had discovered Jimin through the Arirang era, through Like Crazy or Who, or the viral moments from the North American tour, were different in quality, but equally genuine. For them, the 2019 story was new information, and learning it in the context of the 2026 campaign created the specific feeling of suddenly understanding the full scale of something you had only been seeing a portion of. Both responses, the long-timers' quiet recognition and the newer fans' sudden expansion of context, are expressions of the same thing, the experience of understanding that what is happening right now is not just what is happening right now, it is part of something longer.
There's a detail about the 2026 installation that most coverage mentioned briefly and then moved past, but that deserves more specific attention. The campaign runs for the entire month of June, not just the concert weekend, the entire month. That decision to fund and maintain an installation for 30 days, rather than just the 4 or 5 days immediately surrounding the concerts, is a statement about what this month means to the people who organized it. June is BTS's debut anniversary month. June 13th is the 13th anniversary. The Busan concerts are on June 12th and 13th, the anniversary eve and the anniversary itself. A campaign that runs for the full month of June is not a concert advertisement. It is a commemoration of 13 years of a person from this city who has been, for all 13 of those years, one of the reasons the city is known beyond its own borders. The fans who walk through Jonghabundongjong Station in the first week of June, the ones who are arriving early to experience Busan before the concerts, who are visiting Jimin's father's cafe and riding the Chim Chim train and seeing the displays that fan campaigns have set up across the city. They walk through those 200 meters of Jimin in a context that is not yet concert anticipation. It is something more ambient than that, more like living inside a month-long acknowledgement that this city has a relationship with this person that is worth marking explicitly for everyone who passes through. Here is what I think the 2026 wall wrapping actually represents, not as a fan campaign, but as a document. There's a specific kind of love that expresses itself through permanence, not the permanence of forever, nothing physical is permanent, but the permanence of insistence, the refusal to let something be unmarked, the decision to make visible what would otherwise be only felt. The fans who first mounted a wall wrapping at Jonghabundongjong Station in 2019 were insisting that Jimin's return to his city was worth marking, not privately in their hearts, but publicly in the physical space of the city itself. They were saying, "This matters. We want the city to know it matters. We want Jimin to know it matters. We want every person who passes through this corridor, fan or not, Korean or international, army or stranger, to encounter evidence that this matters." 7 years later, the same fan base is making the same insistence in the same location, but the scale is different. 10 LED boards, 200 meters on both sides, a month-long installation. The logistics of 2026 dwarf what was possible in 2019. And the weight of what is being marked is proportionally larger too. Not just a first fan meeting in a hometown, a homecoming after 3 years of silence, after military service, after becoming, in the intervening years, one of the most globally recognized and commercially successful Korean solo artists in history. The wall says, "We were here in 2019, we are here in 2026, we will continue to be here." That continuity is its own kind of statement. In an industry that moves at a pace that makes most fan moments feel disposable, last week's trending idol forgotten by this week's trending moment, a fan base that can draw a direct line between something they did in 2019 and something they are doing in 2026, in the same physical location for the same person, is making a claim about the nature of what this particular connection is. It is not temporary, it is not situational, it accumulates. On June 12th, tens of thousands of people will walk through Jonghabundongjong Station on their way to Busan Asiad Main Stadium. Some of them will have been part of the original 2019 installation, the people who helped fund it, who were there to see it, who remember what it felt like to walk through it on the way to Jimin's first fan meeting in his hometown. They will walk through the 2026 version and feel the 7 years between the two like a physical distance they have traveled. Some of them will be experiencing their first concert in Busan, fans who discovered Jimin during the Arirang era who have no memory of 2019, for whom the wall wrapping is simply an extraordinary display of fan dedication in a city they have only ever known as Jimin's city, because Jimin himself told them that's what it is. And some of them, a small number, but they will be there, will be experiencing their first BTS concert entirely. They will not have the context, they will just walk through 200 meters of a person they are about to see on stage for the first time and feel what they feel. all three groups will emerge from the station into the same Busan air, and Jimin will be somewhere in that city, getting ready to walk onto a stage in his hometown for the first time in 4 years. The question I want to leave you with is not about fan campaigns or advertising logistics. It is this: do you think Jimin knows what it means to walk into a city where his fans have been at work for an entire month, making sure that every person who passes through the main entry point to his concert venue encounters evidence of what he means to them? Not do you think he knows about the campaign, he almost certainly does, but do you think he has felt it, the weight of what 200 meters of insistence in a familiar corridor actually communicates? Because I think the answer to that question is part of why the conversation he has with his city when he gets on that stage is going to be unlike any other night on this tour. Write what you think in the comments. If you have been part of any of the Busan fan campaigns in 2019 or in 2026, I especially want to hear from you. Until the next one, take care of yourselves, and as always, purple you.